Well, just for a quick update, because I've not done a video for a while, so a quick update of where we are with in the garden and the bulbs for the bulb log video diary. This is one of the sand beds where a number of years ago, those that if you follow the bulb log will know, I cut way back. This used to be all full of pots of bulbs, and I cut way back to just growing them in the sand. It got watered on the 1st of September, and it will get watered again in a few weeks at the beginning of October. And this is just what we've got to come up in flower. So the first of the Sternbergia lutea, and here also you can see by that stick's there to allow all this growth here of the Tropiola Missourium. So there's more there by that cone coming up, and I've got some there. I've got a bit of string up to help it guide it onto the mesh at the back where I want it to go. But you can see there's lots of other growths coming. So let's just move through this other house to the pots. This used to be, again, cram full of pots, top and bottom. But as I get older, fast approaching my 3/4 of a century, I've been cutting back to make it more manageable. So again, it was all watered, and you can see the growth, the narcissus. These are mostly narcissus, but not exclusively, but mostly. So there's some little pots there. Some of these are the little special ones we've got from Anne Wright, who is a superb breeder of little narcissus. Some more Sternbergia in pots, but frankly they do better in the sand plunge than they do in pots. So the end of the year, or even before, maybe I'll take these out and put them into the other sand plunge, which I'll show you in due course. So that's the other bulb house, and these bulbs will start to flower possibly as early as October, November, and we'll get little narcissus flowering all through until the spring, well, not the spring, the late winter, when the snowdrops and the Eranthus and all the other plants will come and flower in the garden. My love of weeds is evident. Some people call them weeds, I see them as wildflowers. And this is one of the areas where I've just been scattering seed. And these lovely yellow dandelion-like flowers on a tall stem give us colour in an otherwise garden that doesn't have too much. Down here, they've been out a few weeks, so a wee bit battered. Some of the autumn flowering crocus. There's a lot more to come here, the Bonaticus. Always they're attracting the insects. You can also see coming through the Corydalis and the other plants down there. You can note the Corydalis, the Oxalis. You can see the cyclamen, cyclamen comb seeding around massively. It doesn't seem to mind the competition. You can see down there it's growing pretty well, and it flowers and it seeds around in this now fully moss covered sand plunge. This is the area you've seen an awful lot. A lot of bulbs and changing features through the season. The giant lilies gone down. I'm just seeing here a lovely Crocus nudiflorus. There's lots of them around as well. So I'm just going to come round to another sand bed, and you'll see there's more Sternbergias and other flowers in here. The growth's coming in this bulb house, because when the electricity prices soared up because of the pressure on the world's supply when Russia invaded Ukraine, we couldn't afford to keep the heating on in here. Not that we heated, we just protected. It was too expensive and we were frightened about the bill that would come in. So we switched off the warming cables. So we did lose quite a lot of stuff. But it's interesting to see what survives. And we've not lost everything. Some stuff broke down into little bits, but there was enough left for it to come on. But interestingly, these beds are fine. This side was a different sand because I ran out of the sand that I usually use. And I mixed up another sand with some bags I got from the builder's merchant. And it's not done so well. The losses here have been much more. And I think it's the texture of the sand. Well, it is still gritty, because I've opened it up. There's been something in that sand, I'm quite sure, that's not suited to plants. Anyhow, these are how you learn. I always say we learn more about a plant and how to grow it by killing it than we do by being able to grow it. So we're just going to have a walk around to the spots where there's more of the bulbs. The sand plunge here. This is the cobble bed down there. I mean, look at that bumblebee gorging himself on these wonderful crocus. A lot of these crocus are actually hybrids. It's got affinities with Pulchellus, but they're seed raised and they just seed around. And I don't think it's pure Pulchellus, but it's lovely, and there's more to come. There'll be more Banaticus and other of the autumn bulbs to come. Over here, where you'll see I've spread some of there's Colchicum. I think it's Variegatus, the really checker one, I think. Because I've grown it for years and it stays as a single plant. Whereas the other forms are multiply up better. Well, look, here's pot of chives. This is very much the pattern in our garden. Plants go about, they move themselves. So these Nudiflorus albus are flowering in one of our pots of chives. And we didn't put them there, perhaps they got scooped in by reusing some old compost. Coming here, here's another bunch of self-seeded into the paving. But again, look at all the hoverflies zooming about it. We always get more pollination and more seed off the autumn flowering crocus than we do off the spring ones. And I'm quite sure the reason for that is that the weather at this time of year is often more favourable. As you can see, it's sunny. There's more hoverflies, so more pollinators. Let's come round here to the Cyananthus. Has been flowering since July. And while it looks like it's all over the place, the actual root ball is just about this under my hand, just about that size. And then all this just spreads out in a mat. And here's an early form of Crocus Banaticus. Very easy to tell because the inner three floral segments are much shorter than the outer three. It's only Crocus that has that. Comes in different shades. You get pure white ones, which I've never managed to grow successfully. but we have a whole lot of shades. This is quite a dark one, and then we get paler ones. But also up here there's a number of other crocus that are just seeded in, or as we encourage more and more crocus to grow up here. Come round to another of the raised beds. And whoa, we got a whole lot more. See how they're blowing in the wind. It's really quite windy. We're forecast to get storm force winds later in the day. But these are all a bunch. You can see all the hoverflies. I hope you can see them. I hope this camera is picking them up. There's masses of them. But these, I'm sure, are crosses between Pulchellus or Cochianus and the form that used to be Speciosus xanthialomus, which I think is now a standalone xanthialomus. And it's prolific in our garden, but they're garden hybrids anyway, and they grow exceedingly well and increase both by seed and multiplication at the bulb. Down here you can see that a lot of the crocuses are growing in what's the path. Now here's a Cochianus. Oh, I'm not getting in the light. It's the trouble. I'll need to turn. Hang on. Wait till I move round so getting down I don't take the light off the flower. So this is a Cochianus. Used to be called Zonatus because, I don't know if you can pick up. Tell you what I'll do. Let me just peel off a segment and then we can really show it. At the base there, you can see that sort of V-shaped notch of yellow. That's the zone that gave it the name Zonatus. And then this is nudiflorus. It runs about by little stones. And then these are some of the hybrids. So here we have a lovely colchicum, really dark one. I have no idea where that came from. These are the Erythronium plunge baskets. So whether that's been a seed that's seeded in there and it's gradually built up, I don't know, but it's a lovely dark form of probably Speciosus with these lovely dark stems. Really nice. Leaves all in it, but take that leaf out. Don't mind the hoverflies in that, but leaves in it don't look so good. So as I say, this is a mixture of actually Cochianus, the nudiflorus, the purple form, nudiflorus albus, a whole range. And this is what plants do. Like you can see the one I was showing you in the middle of the slabs. It's growing there. And it must have dropped in by a seed, and it's growing in the crevice. So let's move up. The garden's a mess at this time of year because it's mid-season when things have not quite died back enough for me to cut back and open up, although I'm doing that in selected places. You can see there's still piles of shredded compost waiting to be spread out. Here's a look at this. This is a lovely dark form. Usually flowers later than this, but a really nice dark form of Crocus speciosus. And of course the Eucomis tricolour. 3 flowers on it this year. There's a lot more rosettes, and I had hoped that all the rosettes would be big enough to flower this year, but disappointingly there's only 3 flowers. But one's enough really. Look, I mean they are magnificent. And growing with the colchicums, just mixed cultivars of colchicum. In amongst, I had to peel back some of the other growth over the top here is just planting this little colony of cyclamen, hydrofolium, and again in the path we've got crocus, nudiflorus. This is nudiflorus albus. So if you're not growing the autumn crocus, you really should get some. You do see them offered in the I'm just going to show you something in a minute I've just spotted. But anyway, this is Colchicum agrippinum, and but I split it out last year because it clumps up, and if you don't split it out every so often, they stop flowering because they get too much competition, too many bulbs in the same small area. So, and it's different from the variegatum I showed you over there, which has stayed as a single one all these years. What I was laughing about, I was just looking here and I see this. This is to show you how amazing bulbs are. I dumped this pile of compost there because I didn't remember what exactly was down below. And my aim was to spread it out a bit sooner than this, but that's a colchicum pushing up. See how it's pushing its way up through all of that. They are amazing things, plants, and bulbs in particular. So that's just, these are the things that fascinate me and keep me hooked on gardening. Erythronium baskets, they weren't touched this year. I did as many as I could, repotted as many as I could last year, so we can give it a miss this year. And up there, big white Colchicum speciosum album. Rather tatty because it's been out for a while now through the weather. And there at this side you've got the smaller white, the crocus speciosum album. Some more Cochieris. And again up here I'm just spotting a mass here of shoots. These are Benaticus. This is an area with a lot of Crocus Benaticus. They'll flower a bit later. You do get quite a long period. None of these flowers, neither the Colchicums nor the Crocus flowers, last for a very long time. They're fragile, they get battered by the weather. But most of them send up a succession rather than a single flower. And it's they come, if you've got a range of them, they'll come and give you lovely interest for quite a number of weeks. So down here, some more, these are more Cochienus for sure. Cyclamen hydrifolium in this bed. And then if I just use the stepping stones and get myself around here. These Colchicum Davisii, flowering up through the now fallen over Roscoia leaves as they've finished and collapsed. And this is a beauty, you know, you get this lovely, in all the detritus and the mess and the bits and pieces and the flickering light as the trees blow and disrupt the shaft of sun. You get these lovely effects of these delicate crocus flowering away. And these are at the edge. And round here, I'll move around. There's another bunch of Colchicums that narrowly missed being dumped on by the pile of compost. I really need to get that spread. The path, I've shown you before. The paths in our garden are for plants, not for people. which is part of the reason why we stopped having groups coming round years ago, because it's too hazardous, not necessarily for the people, but too hazardous for the plants. They'd get trampled to death. Another group, crocus. And then here you have the path. I need to... The rhododendrons have been having a tough time because we've had one of the warmest, driest summer periods on record. And all the plants we have tended to grow have been plants that wanted our cool, moist climate. And with climate change, we're not getting that anymore. So we just have to learn to adapt, which is one of the reasons I'm going over to many of the plants that people might regard as weeds, because they are proven and very capable of tolerating and dealing with this relic. So this is a Veratrum fimbriatum. Let's see if I can go in and give you a good look at these flowers. They really are quite startling flowers. The leaves come through very, very early in the year. These wonderful fan-shaped clusters of leaves come up, and then the flowers come through in August, September, and will flower on until October. So that's Veratrum fimbriatum. It's native to the coastal zones of California. In fact, I think it's endemic to California. Cyclamen hydrifolium popping up all over the place, as well as the crocus. Here's another bunch of colchicums. They've not been blown over, they're growing out because they're growing under this lot. While this is looking straight up. They're growing under that, so the flowers have been trying to get out to the light. But even if they do get blown over, the flowers still have got value and attraction lying on the ground, and they still, as you can see, if you're able to see, attract the pollinating insects even when they're lying down. The bed of the wee rhodies that I cut them hard back to stumps. All the ones that were still alive are bouncing back, and the idea was to make them a bit smaller, because this was up to my chest. I'm standing in the middle of it just now, and it came up to the middle of my chest. So although they're described as dwarf rhododendrons, they're small leaf rhodies, and it had taken them the best part of 40 years to reach that size. So I've cut them back and rejuvenate them, get them to a smaller size again. This bed up here, a lot of crocus. The whites mostly, Speciosus albus. There is Vallicula. I think they've mostly gone over. There's a Vallicula there, with these lovely fimbriate tips to the petals. And then a lot of Crocus banaticus. Most of these purples in this area are banaticus. Another one, look at this, in the path. And while you might not get, although we have got some areas that are quite spectacular and dense populations, that you never quite get this sort of planting you'll see with perhaps a spring crocus. But in many ways, these autumn flowering crocus are among my favourites. And you'll certainly see available through, certainly the bulb merchants, the bulb selling people, if not through your local garden centres when you get those packets of bulbs. I'm sure you would see Crocus speciosus, Cochianus pulchellus, at least, of the autumn flowering crocus. But as I say, make sure, if you're asking for them, that they know that it's autumn crocus you want and not autumn flowering colchicums. It's been a bugbear of mine for all my life that people call colchicums that flower in the autumn crocus. It's simply not the case. Here I'll show you the Allium wallichi. Looks good with the backlight. It's not the showiest of plants, but again it attracts huge numbers of insects at this time of year, and it pollinates and it seeds around as well. These are the paths where the erythronium seed. These beds, as you can see from the erythroniums, these were crammed with plants. They are crammed with plants that flower earlier in the year. Up here, this area, I've been repopulating a bit. There's a few Colchicum divises. I like mushrooms as well and toadstools. Encourage most of them in the garden. These are the Pliagarics. You can see how well eaten they are. Oh, and I was going to show you a bit closer. This is the Allium wallichi. This is a dark form. It comes in various different colour forms, but this is the form that we've got. There'll be an aeroplane going over. And so the evidence of autumn is here all over the place. The untidiness of autumn suits my nature because I'm an untidy person. I live in a fairly chaotic life, in a chaotic world. Colchicum, cyclamen, and autumn flowering crocus. Those are the plants of the moment. And there we can get pretty well them all. So we've got the autumn crocus and the cyclamen and the autumn colchicum. So I think that's probably long enough. You've seen the idea, you've got the idea of what the garden looks like at this time of year. So I'll leave you with this beautiful scene in the hope that maybe if you've never tried growing these plants, you'll seek them out and maybe get them. Of course, you'll always get seed of many of these through the seed exchange of some of the specialist societies, especially those of the Scottish Rock Garden Club, who host my bulb logs and who I've been a member of for donkey's years. So their seed exchange is starting. It's only open to members. You have to be a member of the SRGC, but you could still join now. Become an online member and you'll still get access to the seed exchange when it starts. But it'll be starting soon with the list coming out, I think in November, December, and then the seeds sent out at the beginning of the year in January, February. And it's a great way. It's where we got a lot of seed initially, to start off this garden, and so much in this garden is raised from seed. So I've prattled on long enough. Thanks for being with me again, and I hope I might see you again before too long, because I'm hoping there'll be another wave of the crocus plants to come. So thanks for, have a good, I usually say happy gardening, but happy gardening, yes, but I hope your gardens are shutting down now, but they don't need to shut down in winter. Gardens can go on through winter. And these are the plants that lead us up and show us. So bye for now.